But wait, you're my uncle! Who said I'm your uncle? I didn't say that Ironside had one wife. Hey y'all! What's up, guys? Pencil here. Here we are to do a breakdown and review of chapter 120 of Four Nights of the which is known as a Banquet for the Braves, or Banquet for Braves. I feel like it should be Banquet for the Braves. Then again, if there's one thing I cannot be critiquing anybody on, it's grammar. But this chapter has a lot of interesting stuff. I feel like I say this every week about a Four Nights chapter, but legitimately has a lot of interesting stuff, answers a couple questions, and raises like 50 more. So let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. Editing me, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? Lego Pencil here. Fun fact, I have it on me. I keep it on me at all times. Another fun fact, did you know that this is infinitely more drippy than anything that Percy's ever worn? Infinitely more drippy. Like, what? You're telling me he got the camo pants? He got the Nanashi 11s on? Bro's got the fit that's dripped out with all of his homies on it, from the Donners to Nasians to Anne, keep it on the left like that, Lance on the other shoulder, and the reference to Sin in the center. Bro, what? Why does he look so saucy right now? Look at this man. Look at this man. Look at the drip. Look at the drip. Look at the drip. But of course, Nagaba would never be kind enough to Percy to actually give him some drip in the main narrative. So this is the only time we shall ever see this fit. And that's crazy, bro. Why you have to do him so dirty? Why did the Tristan platoon end up being so drippy? And one of them got the moment they got at the drip, bro. Why? Why? Give Percy. We gotta start a hashtag. Give Percy some drip, please, because he desperately needs. Even if you were to put on the helmet and the cape, I think this would still be a drippy fit. Though admittedly, the cape would be kind of redundant with the jacket on. But come on now, bro. I wouldn't. Would I wear this? And then again, I am not conducive to drip. That's why you consistently see me wearing like black shirts. I'm not conducive to drip. Give me some time. I'll try to get conducive to drip, but I'm not. I am no sponge. I am much more. Something that's hydrophobic. Insert hydrophobic object here. So I am naturally opposed to the drip. But give Percy some drip. Let's see. Chapter 120, Banquet for Braves. Where are those two right now? Where did you take Percival? Why would she tell you? Okay, but to be fair, they asked the right one. Because I'm still sitting here, especially considering what happens in this chapter. I'm sitting here, I'm pulling out the telescope, and I'm like, yo, ain't you just commit like the highest level of treason? Right here? Right now, like there's no reason, and I mean zero reason, zero. On some bleach, I know it's Spanish for zero, but on some bleach type timing, there's settled reason you should not be getting executed this instant for the highest level of treason. You have the final piece of the coffin of eternal darkness in your grips, in your palms, and you're telling me you just threw it to the main op. Obviously, this is most likely the understanding that Percy's going to lose anyway in the duelist chamber, but still, he already had a weapon on him. That's just treason. But of course, she hooked up the big demon guy in order to make the big demon guy. Turn 6 demons into 1 demon for the price of 1 chaos staff. So maybe that balances the treason out, I guess? I don't know. It still feels weird. However, we get a good reason why she may have not been immediately executed for treason on Arthur's end immediately. Because look who he is. He is the king. And he knows your name. Look at him for a minute. Arthur Pendragon. He gon' cook. But actually he isn't. We're going to talk about that. So we see that Arthur's actually able to peer through the chaos staves, which is an interesting mechanic. It very much reminds me of, what I'm going to say, the Rinnegan, specifically with Nagato and the 6 Paths of Pain and anything that they summoned that happened to wield the Rinnegan. Remember, in that series, anything that bore the eyes of the Rinnegan, the eyes of the deities, the main user of the Rinnegan, or even other users of the Rinnegan, could see it. Essentially, think of it as having multiple monitors. But instead of like having to glance between different monitors to read what's happening, you have all those monitors fold into your field at one time. You can analyze everything. I can't really think of any way that we as humans can do that. That's the thing. I can't really think of a way that we could do it. But it is simply like that. So I think like the max amount of eyes that have been on the field, or max amount of viewpoints that have been on the field for Nagato at once are like 12? So like imagine viewing 12 screens all at the same time. It seems like Arthur has a very similar ability. And however, it is a little bit different. Where Nagato seemed to have the constant stream of information from all the eyes at once, and he just kind of had to parse out what he needed to do. It seems like Arthur can turn it on and off. And at first I was a little bit confused and like, hey, Arthur, Big Papa Art, I heard a ring, and it was legit treason. Why is she still living? But it seems like the only reason Arthur even started to peer through this Chaos Staff is because it was just used. Notably, he says, I see. Mortlock's band has forced the 4 knights into battle. They've even brought Percival to Mortlock's dueling chamber, it seems. So, I'm assuming since Rosebank just pulled out the staff and was like, Aguriba, and then made the Mega Demon. It seems... I haven't played a single Persona game in my life. I've only watched a bunch of Persona retrospectives. But like, is Rosebank a Persona player? Fusing demons and summoning them? But does that make Arthur Igor? Yeah. Are the Chaos Staffs the twins from Persona 5? I'm sorry, I do not. Once again, I have no real context about the Persona games. I own Persona 5. I own Persona 5 Royal. It's sitting over there on that shelf. I didn't play that on stream. That's going to take forever. I don't know. In a similar vein to me yet to start One Piece, or having not started One Piece, I've not opened Persona 5 Royal because I know that's a massive time sink. But then again, I did immediately buy and start playing Tears of the Kingdom. So I'm obviously a massive hypocrite. But with that being the case, I'm assuming that's how it works with Arthur. He can only lock in when he feels like it's time to lock in. And in a similar vein to how he pretty much immediately knew, aight, Tanya, it's time to get you got, baby girl. I'm assuming the only times that Arthur gets like a notification, like, you know, you get a notification on your phone. I'm assuming the only time Arthur gets that noti that, maybe I should tune in here, is when A, someone's opening a portal to Camelot that seems like something he would have total jurisdiction over, considering it is his realm. And that's why when he looked through Teniac when she started the chant, he was like, whoa, wait a minute, can't have you doing that. I don't want them here yet. Boom. Got her out of here by her own bugs. And also whenever a Chaos Staff is used. Now, notably, this seems to be the only example we have of this. I don't think we've ever seen him do this otherwise. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think we've never seen him do it otherwise, but presumably this is the establishment of that. So whenever, at least as my headcanon, I can't wait for Nakaba to prove me wrong like next week, but presumably if you are in the possession of a Chaos Staff, Arthur can peer through it at any time, but the likely time that he will look through it is when it has just been used for something, since that invokes his power. It's kind of like, I can't think of anything that's an equivalent in our world. Yeah, I can't think of anything simple. I mean, I guess, you know what? Once again, it's like a notification. But instead of like a notification that's just general, it's like when you post something and then someone comments on it or likes it, then you get the notification that happens. And you're like, oh, wait, there's the noti. That's essentially what it is. Because it's something that you created, and thusly, whenever it gets invoked by the system of the world, boom, you know it's been invoked. But very interesting that Arthur randomly went outside to do this. Like, bro, what are you doing? Arthur just be doing things. Like, bruh. And another thing, I gotta mention this. Arthur, buddy, you don't actually want to win, right? Like you can be honest with me. You can be honest with me. It's your old pal. You don't honestly want to win, do you? Right? Because tell me why you believe that since you know exactly where they are, you literally have the deets, the coordinates to where they are, and you know for a fact, considering once again this is your realm, and you seem to be able to tell when people are trying to enter your realm, or at least where portals are. You could very likely just go over to the portal that currently has the 4 knights on the other side of it. Go out there and mollywop one of them. Notably, you don't even have to get rid of all of them. Once again, as Ironside goes on to mention here, superb news, my liege. Well done. That'll eliminate one of the 4 knights, and the prophecy will collapse for good. So, Arthur, broski, you don't even have to get too active. You really don't. All you need to do is go over there, take a little something. You can even take Nanashi's blade. You don't even need to use yours. Just grab Nanashi's sword, be like, hey, I know this is your main fighting style. Stall lands for a little bit without that. Let me use this real quick. I left Excalibur at home. Pull that bad boy out, and fine. Let's give the Omega stipulations. Currently, at this very moment in time, Mortlock is in the dueling chamber. And obviously, I presume that Arthur could enter that dimension if he really wanted to. He may have given Mortlock that ability, but that may be me hating him too much. So like that may be me like equivocating Chaos and the Almighty a bit too much. But with that being the case, Arthur, fine. Tristan's in a separate dimension, and you may not be able to execute him regardless. Percival. Look at me messing it up. 120 chapters later. But Percival, currently locked off in another dimension. Fine. Whatever. And plus, he's a pseudo-immortal anyway. He's probably more of an immortal than you are, considering Chaos got scared that you could actually perish. Then, Lancelot. Let's just slot Lancelot to the ultimate degree and assume that he can use Mollywop, even full power Chaos Arthur. Like, that little interaction towards the end of their fight in Leonis, not actually indicative of a power gap between Lance and him when Lance is using his full strength. Nope, Arthur's actually just fodder to him. You can avoid Lance. Daddy Nanashi's taking care of Lance right now. And then finally, Gawain. Let's say, even though you don't necessarily care for Gawain, that still is your stepbro's son. So, daughter. I mean, technically, is his stepbro's son, because get it, but S-U-N instead of S-O-N. But regardless, that is your stepbro's kid. You don't want to get on his bad side for whatever reason. You can mollywop him or recreate him however you want him. But you fine. You don't want to execute Gawain because it's still your niece. You have good memories of her growing up. Then she became a little haughty after a while. Dog. The children or the child of your biggest threat, and also 2 of the races that are responsible for the entire destruction of your kingdom, their child is chilling right there. And this is the same child that is notorious for never actually powering up to the appropriate level to fight whatever caliber of opponent he is running into. The man has run in base, in weaker hybrid forms, mainly legitimately, bro has just done stupid stuff before. So you have no reason to not just go over there, drop Tristan, and call it a day. Why keep sending fodder? And obviously, I can definitely see the argument. Well, Pencil, the Chaos Knights aren't fodder. They just aren't them. And you think Arthur would know that by now. Talisker, Ardbeg, Ironside himself, Macduff, Teniac. He has sent so many resources. Human resources. Not on that regular HR type beat. Literal human resources to go deal with the Knights. And every single one of them has failed. You think bro would take a hint and just do it himself. But I'm assuming, outside of the meta-narrative reason of he's the final boss, obviously we're not going to have the main crew engage with the final boss right now. I'm assuming, for Nakaba's sake and my own, there's some sort of narrative reason on why Arthur isn't doing this when he has the full capability to. Don't get me wrong, there are other series where villains have the desire to execute the main cast of heroes, but usually they literally can't, whether it be because they're trapped somewhere in another dimension, whether it be they lack the capability to reach the heroes in any sort of succinct manner, or whether it be the fact that the heroes are literally just coming to them, and thusly they're going to take all the time they need to prepare their home base before people can come over. However, for Arthur, he literally doesn't want them there. Like you can see with how he deals with the Teniac situation. Instead of letting the knights wander into an early grave, which is what would have happened. Like if he had let them into Camelot at that point, they would be much weaker than they are right now, and they still wouldn't have any sacred treasures or anything. And Percy still had Dragon Handle, so he could have gotten that too. Legitimately, the most optimal option for Arthur right now is to let them into Camelot. I know that sounds crazy, but remember, the four knights are fodder, except for Lance, and even then, Lance doesn't have a weapon. And I'm sorry, as much as the largest Lance lover this side of the Mississippi, I don't think a weaponless Lance is beating King Arthur in his own realm. With Excalibur, full access to all the Chaos Knights that are chilling in Camelot at his disposal. Obviously, did you see, and I get it, Percy's much stronger, or maybe not much, but he is stronger than he was when base Arthur literally one-tapped him so fast that Percy couldn't even see what happened, but still, I'm assuming the same thing's going to happen there. And as powerful as Tristan is, I don't think he suddenly cleared the gap between him and Meliodas. And you can see that Arthur was going relative to Meliodas in base. Admittedly, immensely nerfed Meliodas, but still, regardless. The majority of the knights, Gawain obviously too, they're all fodder to him. The best way to make sure the prophecy doesn't transpire is to get them while they're young. Execute them before they do their massive power growth, Arthur. Stop throwing fodder at them so they can keep growing. So I'm hoping one way or another it gets established that Arthur has some reason not to do it. Whether it be the common theory that 1, 2, or 3, or maybe even all the four knights may end up working under Arthur, due to, like original Arthurian mythology, all of these characters used to work under Arthur, and then maybe some of them betray him later in life. Maybe it's that or something. But Nakaba, you're gonna have to give me a reason, because you can't introduce the fact that Arthur can literally just appear wherever he wants to appear and set him up to be actively watching the battle, knowing exactly where they are, but he himself doesn't come and go stop the prophecy. Because if he does that, everything should be set. But once again, that's just me ignoring the meta-narrative reason. Looking for an in-narrative reason. Meta-narrative, he's the final boss. You can't fight the final boss right now. There's just no way. So, let's keep it pushing. We see that Ironside explains, no magic is allowed in the duelist chamber. All you can rely on is your skill in a fight. So, like, it's a good magic if your opponent's stupid. Like, I'm still leaning towards it. In the same way that I think Anne's magic, a lot of people were slopping off Anne's new magic, you gotta be stupid. Like, you gotta be stupid to fall for either Mortlock or Anne's magic. Because why are you talking? I know about that. Like, legit, I don't know. If I was ever drawing my blade on somebody and they said, I challenge you to a one-on-one duel. No. Not like, even, I probably wouldn't even, I just attack them. Like, I'd just be like, gang, we're jumping them. Like, why not? Especially in Percy's scenario, where we're always jumping automatically anyway. Dog, this is what the whole squad is for. We're here to jump you. Even if we're about to have a one-on-one duel, and you request for a one-on-one duel, I'd probably raise my eyebrow and be like, no. And then, but then again, that may just be hindsight on me, but I probably wouldn't speak to my opponent at all. I would just opponent them. But that's a weird thing. I don't know. But I guess you can see Ironside's confident about it. So he does have faith in that man. And you see why. He says, and my brother-in-law Mortlock's sword skill outclasses even mine. Your fate is sealed now for all time, Percival. And no, it isn't. Now, notably, we don't know how the duelist deactivates. But we do. And I'll talk about it a little bit. But we do get to see Percival and Mortlock getting ready to bust a move. And, when they get ready to bust a move, it ain't gonna be looking all too smooth when they hop up in their Emperor's Groove. So let's see what gets popping. I like Percy's stance. It reminds me of... What's this stance remind me of? It reminds me of Gilthunder's stance in the original series. That. Meanwhile, Mortlock reminds me of... Actually, I don't know what Mortlock's is unique. Or at least in something I can't immediately place. I was about to say, actually, Loki reminds me of Riku. But no, it doesn't. Riku wields his blade like this. Meanwhile, Mortlock's wielding his blade like this. So this may just be another traditional sword fighting style. I don't know. I'm not a sword fighter. But, let's see. Your fate is sealed for all time now, Percival. We'll talk about that in a little bit and why this plan is inherently stupid. But, well, maybe, depends on how the duels works. So we see, in this realm, all its own, Mortlock says, "This is our second encounter. But I never did give you my name, did I? It's Mortlock." Very interesting. Once again, Mortlock is a character that I am... If I had to give... I'm a 80. I'll say 80. I'm 80% confident he's going to survive past this point. I think him and Rosebank are safe. I think they are 100% safe. Then again, I thought Ardbeg was 100% safe after he got his redemption arc. We saw what happened to Ardbeg. But I feel like Mortlock's too important to get got here. So I don't know. But Mortlock brings up his name. But notably, he doesn't necessarily say anything to Percy about his relation to him, even by law or possibly by blood. So, interesting thing here. But I do like that Mortlock is being characterized as someone who is conflicted with what they have to do, and at least wants to give his opponent the honor and, I suppose, genuinely the mercy of at least letting him know their name. Because he doesn't, notably, Mortlock does not have to speak. He actually engages in a whole proper conversation with Percy before the fight actually begins. But if Mortlock was truly about the business, he'd be like, and then just absolutely annihilate Percy. But you can tell that there is some real genuine humanity in him by his lack of immediate offense. And you can see Percy take a second to breathe and says, Can I ask you a question? And Mortlock, once again, just showing the kindness that exists within the man's heart, which was, if there are any characters I see getting properly, redeemed by the end of the series, and, don't need divine retribution or, specific character payoffs or retribution, I'm assuming, out of the Chaos Knight side, it would be Mortlock and Pelgard. I can see both of these two characters end up being, if not just flat-out allies, not enemies. I could see that. I could see us getting a 4-night time skip 400 chapters from now. That's assuming 4 nights goes on for another 400 chapters. Maybe. But I could see another 300, 200, whatever chapters from now. And we do a big, massive time skip, and then Mortlock's there, old and gray, dapping it up with his bro Pelgard. I could see Mortlock living just because of the characterization he's getting right now. But we see that he says, "Go ahead." And Percy says, "Well, you said the monuments behind us represent all that we're shouldering. But who's that behind you? Does he know everything you're doing, Mortlock? How you're taking the living space of the people of Britannia like King Arthur ordered you to? Or all the pain you're causing the other clans?" Now, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong. Percy, presumably, you would know that everybody from Camelot is kind of red-pilled. And by red-pilled, I mean Arthur-pilled. I'm pretty sure every single person remotely associated with Camelot hates the other races. For one reason or another, they do. So, even this little mysterious guy in the crystal behind Mortlock, I think you can take a solid guess about how he feels about the other races. However, Percy does bring up a more interesting point that probably would ruffle Diodra's jimmies a little bit. The idea that the space of other people, literally entire towns, are being hard wiped off the map by Arthur. That may be something that Diodra's a little bit concerned about. He's like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm cool taking it from the demons, the goddesses, the fairies, the giants. I'm cool taking it from them, any of the subspecies. But you're taking it from other people? You want people to just not have a place to live? There's no way you're letting King Arthur do this. I can see that interaction happening. But caring about the well-being of the other races, just a teeny tiny bit, I don't think so. Personally, I mean, it's a nice thought. It's a good sentiment. Don't get me wrong, kiddo. But I doubt it. I doubt it wholeheartedly. But with that being the case, we see that Mortlock takes a moment to pause. He says this: "When I was young, I spent nearly every moment with my sister. She is 5 years my elder, and our mother perished young, and it drove our father to consume the darkness. Oh, how he beat us. Someone, it'll probably end up being me, but someone, please do the research. Did Nakaba not have a good childhood? Did he grow up in an environment where people didn't have good childhood? Like, bro, outside of the literal heroes of the previous cast, who has good parents in Seven Deadly Sins? Like, Mel obviously doesn't. Elizabeth obviously doesn't. King and Elaine, their parents are a tree. How good is a tree gonna be for a pappy? Shoot. Gother, I mean, you could maybe argue original Gother was a decent enough dad, but he did also leave his son with like 3,000 years of trauma and didn't raise him really all too properly to understand his emotions and stuff like that, and also literally perished right in front of him because he needed to use all his magic at once. I get it was for a good cause, but I wouldn't say Gother original is really the best dad either. Bond's parents were awful too. Like, why is everyone... Heck, even someone like Gila, who had like a holy night dad, he still abandoned his kids. Sure, I think it was supposed to be like a routine mission or something, but like, bro, not the kiddies. Why you gotta leave them like that? So, and then finally, Mortlock's backstory. Dog. What? We're just dropping this. This is just here. This is something we have to deal with. Nag was just handing this to us, like, here. Not think about it. Like, broski, why? But we see, he says, but she protected me. She raised me like a parent should. A few years later, she married Ironside and became pregnant by him. So, this is where we get into the idea of the chapter answering questions, but being just vague enough that it just gives me more questions. So let's break it down a piece by piece. So first things first. Mortlock's older sister married Ironside, had his kid. Singular. She became pregnant by him. Not pregnant with twins, not pregnant with triplets, not pregnant with octuplets, pregnant by him. So, seemingly enough, that implies one child. And we go on to say, but the Holy War crushed all their joy. The stinking poison shed from the Demon King's body sickened my sister. Ironside tried every treatment he could. It was no use in the end. So, hold on, I'm not laughing at Mortlock. But dog, how petty, disgusting, vile, sickening, adjectives, all the adjectives. How down horrible of a human, not a human, of a sentient being do you have to be that your physical flesh was so poisonous that it actually ended up AoE sickening a majority of Britannia? How did that happen? How did that happen, bro? What? What? Like, dog. How? What in the world? That's crazy. Like, imagine you're just chilling one day, and then a fight that maybe you know was happening, but you just as likely didn't. Suddenly, one of the remnants of that fight just burst through your window, and now you have stage 4. Insert disease here. Like only the Demon King. Like, the Supreme Deity didn't leave no mess. And that's after Zeldris and Meliodas slowly lit her on fire. But she didn't leave no mess afterwards. Of course, the Demon King with his sloppy self ended up leaving poison everywhere. I mean, it makes sense, right? Darkness is more than established in Seven Deadly Sins to give off poisonous properties. So, I guess it only makes sense. It only makes sense that the Demon King would end up falling apart into nothing but a massive, massive poison. I guess it does make sense, but it still feels just that slight bit off, if you know what I mean. But we see. It was no use! I should not have used a Sonic 06 reference there. But yeah. Ironside's wife got. And you can see this is Mortlock, likely holding Diodra. And this is Ironside crying over his wife's grave. And we see that Mortlock says, this is Diodra, Wait, Diodra? Have I been saying it wrong the entire time? Hold on. Have I been saying it wrong? Is it Diodra? How come no one maybe have y'all been correcting me? Wait a minute. Is his name? Hold on. Now I could have sworn his name was Diodra. That's why I even had a whole section in one of the reviews talking about why I pronounce it that way. Have I just been saying it wrong the entire? No. Please tell me it's a typo. Don't tell me I've been embarrassing myself. I know I can barely read as it is, but don't tell me, bro. Don't tell me, please. Googler, please save me. Okay, it is Diodra. Diodra is not it, right? I don't know. At least according to the wiki, I'm seeing Diodra. I'm seeing it. Maybe it says Diodra. Maybe this is a translate. Hold on. Maybe I'm overreading Diodra. This is that says Diodra. It's flipped upside down, reversed in blue for you, but it says Diodra. Trust me, it says Diodra right there. You can tell. If it was Diodra, it'd be 4 letters. I mean 4. Oh Lord. If it was Diodra, it'd be 6 letters. But here it's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, what does that mean? Interesting. But he says this is Diodra, the child that she left. Child singular. My soul shining light. I risk my life to protect him. So, already, I got a question. Let's scroll back to Percy's mural. Who's the biggest, heftiest, thickest, meatiest person on Percival's display? Oh, you're right. Can you say? I'm not gonna do a Dora impression, but yeah, it's Varghese. Varghese is the big boy up there. So, tell me why. Tell me why Mortlock's sister, if he loved her so much, why isn't she there? Why isn't she on there? I understand Ironside. I kind of understand Ironside. Maybe it's weird, but I don't know. I can understand Ironside not being there. I understand King Arthur not being there. But your own sister who raised you, it's not like these constructs only show who's perished, or no, only show people who are alive. It shows everybody. So, Mortlock, did you not like your sister that much, dog? Or maybe what ended up happening is that Mortlock feels no regret because he tried his best. I don't know. It feels weird that she's not there, but only Diodra is. But once again, maybe a little something we gotta talk about. But we see that Percy, using his galaxy brain, is like, wait a minute. Does that make him my brother? I'm shocked he knows what a brother is. I guess he would. But like, what brothers has he encountered? Together, specifically. I'll take none of the above for 500, Your Honor. But like, I don't think he's actually encountered a brother, so it's interesting that he knows it. But obviously, that's a basic term. But we see that, unfortunately, Ironside and Mortlock could not stop catching L's. They lost a mama, and then Mortlock reveals, but he was poisoned in his mother as well. His days are numbered, sad to say. He only lives now, thanks to the production of Camelot, our eternal kingdom. So, this is where things get fishy. And I'm not talking about a little fish. I'm not talking about a tiny piece of tuna. I'm talking about a whole carp. I'm talking about a whole slab of salmon. Things are getting fishy. Because you mean to tell me, you look me dead in the eyes here, fella. You mean to tell me, you got one of the strongest archangels. Not even the strongest archangels. But you got one of the strongest goddesses, if not the strongest goddess to ever exist in the Nashi. A healer of insane caliber on your squad. But you haven't had him try to heal Diodra? Really? Really? Or, also, the fact that, no, you mean to tell me, look me dead in the eyes when I say this, you mean to tell me your king, your leader, Big Daddy Arthur, can create entire worlds, whole separate spaces. And who knows, maybe soon enough he'll whip out a separate time space. But you're telling me that he can do all that, but he cannot cure one disease? I'm gonna have to press X to doubt on that one. Because what? Come on, like, you know what I mean by when I say it's getting fishy? Like, that sounds fishy. I kind of mentioned this when Diodra was first introduced. You can go back to that review. But I feel like Diodra is being used as leverage. Or something. I don't believe Arthur's actually tried. And I don't believe that Mortlock or Ironside are stupid enough to have not asked Arthur. Like, that's the first thing that would have come to mind. I've made it to Camelot. The realm of it, where anything and everything is possible. Please just cure my son's illness. The fact that he hasn't done that, it feels like... No, it legit feels like Arthur gaslighted him into thinking that it can't be done, or him simply not doing it because it would give him two powerful soldiers, which I believe to be true. And that's why Diodra is still managing to live. But then there's another question that comes up with all this. So, is Percival a twin? Is Percival the real Diodra? Or is it something else entirely? Like Ironside having another wife. Where does Percival fall into this equation? Because if we don't go my route, which is the ultra mega sad dark route, in my dumb little headcanon, the main reason I believe that Diodra cannot leave Camelot is because Diodra isn't real. This is a very similar vein to WandaVision, if you've seen that show from the MCU. It is a few years old, so I'm gonna minor little spoiler. Skip a minute ahead if you don't want it. But a very apt comparison to what I feel Diodra is Wanda's kids in that show. And even the vision she made. These things, these people, do not actually exist. They can only exist within the bounds of what Arthur has direct jurisdiction over. Just like Vision and Wanda's kids could only exist within the bounds of Westfield during the WandaVision TV show. And thusly, the main reason Diodra can never leave is because, ultimately, the moment he does, he'd cease to exist. There is no world beyond Camelot for Diodra. And the reason I'm so locked onto this being the idea is because I don't think Ironside's the kind of guy to get another wife. Or at least not as quickly as it's implied that he had, in order for Percival to exist, or even that maybe Mortlock's sister was a second wife. I feel like nothing really implies either of those things. And we know that Percy's been called a thief, someone who stole Diodra's life away from him. So, and we also know for a fact from Zaza that Percy ended up being infused into a human body and taking it over, sort of becoming human in of himself by merging fully, performing a full symbiotic process with the human, which could be, if Percival truly is Ironside's biological son, it could be the case that Percy ended up being born into Diodra's body. And then that's why Varghese took him away once Ironside realized, wait a minute, this isn't my kid. Because I believe it was last chapter or the chapter before where it was mentioned that, oh yeah, I mean, technically you his kid. But realistically, you're a life spirit that Ironside may have summoned to try and help heal his kid. And instead of being able to do that, what happened was the life spirit dove inside of Diodra and took him over. The only weird inconsistencies with that is the hair. Everything else looks exactly the same between these two. Like, not exactly the same, but like, look at this. Look at this face, and look at this face. Look at this face. Look at this face. Sure, this face is generally a little bit softer, but it's mainly just the hair that's the difference. And that's the only thing that's keeping me from being 100% that, oh, Percy's possessing Diodra's body. And that Diodra, like his mama, actually ended up getting God at birth. And then Arthur, realizing he could have two powerful candidates for knights, ended up turning on the fake, he turned on the VR set and made them a Diodra while Percy was taken away by Varghese. The real Diodra. and ended up naming him Percival. And then thus we have the Percival we know today. Meanwhile, the Percival within Chaos Camelot is not real. So I don't know. That may just be theorizing way too hard for my own good, but that's what it feels like to me. That feels like the most likely solution, because I don't see Ironside, unless it's confirmed that Ironside had 2 kids at the same time. He had twins. I don't think there's any other way to look at it. I don't think Diodra is real. I think Percy is Diodra, possessed by a life spirit, and renamed Percy. But we see that Mortlock removes the mask. He throws it away, and he's like, hold on, let me take a sip for this. This is going to take a bit out of me. It means, ew. I need to taste that water. Ew. Yeah, it tastes bacterial. But it means you're the ones trying to take him from me. To take the only place Diodra has. To take... Yeah, it's spelled Diodora again here. To take his very life. Once again, Mortlock, you have Nanashi on your payroll, bro. It should not be this complicated. But we see. And you have no right to rip everything away from him. And what right do you have to be slaughtering the other races, mislocating them, torturing them, and or taking massive chunks of land? I don't know. Doesn't sound like either of you guys got rights. So I don't know, Mortlock. It seems like you on the wrong side of history, bucko. But you can see that this has actually reached Percy. Percy goes quiet for a moment and he says, I know how you feel, but I have to stop King Arthur and my dad too. And most of all, my friends are counting on me. I can't lose this. I can't lose this. But you can see Mortlock is absolutely not having it as Percy grips the fist. And he reels back and smacks the taste out of Percy as he says, then we'll have to fight for it. So, Mortlock versus Percy. Yeah, you know Percy gets cooked. So let's see. We see that Mortlock goes on to say, crush the weak. Ironically enough, they are kind of crushing the weak. But crush the evil, rescue the weak, and be someone who risks their lives for what's important to them. Reciting the Holy Night mantra as Percy blocks. And Percy begs his uncle, look, let's stop this. I'm sure there's a good way to avoid fighting each other. I'm sure of it. And you can see Mortlock hesitates for a second. He really sees the hope that is this child. But once again, he's fighting for his light. And he says, I told you, boy. Which makes me wonder, once again, maybe Percy really isn't his nephew. Maybe he's his nephew-in-law. And Ironside had multiple women. But with that being the case, we see he says, the only way to leave this chamber is if your opponent's dead or knocked out. So, Percy's going to survive. He's going to survive. Here's the thing. Maybe Percy, if he perishes here, gets left in the duelist chamber and just Mortlock gets to leave. But I highly doubt it works like that. I'm assuming the dueling chamber collapses. Like, you see how it sucked them in last chapter? I'm assuming it's kind of holding, and then once it collapses, they'll fall back out. Percy's body will fall back out, it'll immediately re-res itself, and boom! That's it. Like, Mortlock wouldn't be able to do anything else really about that, because Percy's not going to fall for the same trick twice. Like, that's not going to happen. So ultimately, there's no real tension in this fight, but hey, I mean, it works out. You see, he says, that's the hand you've been dealt. And he says that by smacking Percy away, and then he says, not even this. No, not even your father could fully defend this attack. So Percy is Ironside's real kid. But we see 1 Mortlock, 2 Mortlock, 3 Mortlock, 4 Mortlock, 5 Mortlock, 6 Mortlock, so many Mortlocks. I know some people are feeling real excited. But we see that they all come down on Percy. And we see he says, this attack contains all of it. Every single thing I feel. And instantaneously, with this attack, that would mutilate anybody else realistically, especially in the right hands. 1,000 cross. It gets tragic, new panic as Percy falls to Mortlock. And we see it ends with Mortlock declaring, "You must perish. Perish for the sake of my light." Hmm? Hmm? Hmm. So, like I said, a bunch of different chapters do this where they answer a couple questions and then they raise a whole bunch more. And this is definitely a raise whole bunch more. We already knew that Mortlock was Ironside's brother-in-law, I do believe. We already knew that his wife fell sick and ended up needing to be taken to the hospital by her own brother. Not taken to the hospital. Way into modern senses. But we do know a bunch of the information that's presented in this chapter, but the way it's presented with such vagueness leaves Percy's existence, our main character, so much in the air that makes it interesting. So I gotta say, this is in fact a W chapter. However, that's what I think. Please what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure the notifications so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. It's for as low as one a month. These exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also have a member channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the 30-minute live reaction to this very chapter. Now, thank you guys for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dago the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays and Red Wolf 4765. I'd like to give a very big thank you to our $5 patrons, Sean, Red Wolf 4765, Midnight Gem Lord, Kevin, and Demex LND. And a very big thank you to our $10 patrons, Robbie Uchiha, Idem Okami, and Calvin Elder. And to give another very big thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. And a very big thank you to our $25 patron, Ignew.